Welcome everybody to our second Saturday's poetry reading. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Dan Kerr. I wear many hats at Historic All Souls Church. And it's my privilege to be your moderator today for this program hosted by our poet laureate, Dr. Richard Bronson. We do try to start promptly at 11 o'clock. So that's, if I interrupted your middle sentence, I apologize, but we do try to start on time. If you would like to read, and there is an open read, and the open read is a big part of the program, just type your name in chat and I will call upon for the open read the people in the order that the names appear. And if you're chat challenged or you have something else that stops you from typing in your name, don't worry, between Kathy, myself, and Dr. Bronson, we'll find a way to get you an opportunity to read. Please keep your microphone muted. And Judy, I always think of your poem about the barking dogs and the ringing phone when I say this. So please keep you're famous in many ways, colorful and famous, good combination there. Keep your microphone muted out of respect for the other poets so we don't get the background noise. Feedback is a gift. So we've been doing this over 2 years. We have been refining it. So there's my email. I review the feedback regularly with Kathy and with Dr. Bronson as well. So if you have things you like, things that could have been done better, things you'd like to see change, just send an email and we'll make sure it's acted on. Oh, planned agenda for today. So we've now started. I'll just give a few, get everyone grounded, make a few welcoming comments. I'll turn it over to Dr. Bronson. He'll introduce Barbara. Barbara will read for about 20 minutes. Then we'll do the open read, and then we will call Barbara back for an encore. And then after the encore, Richard will come back with some concluding comments and also announce the next poem, the next poetry reading in September. I realize you're here for poetry, not for evangelization, but I'd like to share with you that we do 3 outreach programs. We consider this poetry program, an outreach program, a service to the community. So you'll see that in the middle there, that was the ceremonial passing of the twig to recognize the authority of Barbara Southern when she was poet laureate. So we had the passing of the twig. That's when we met in the church. Since COVID hit, we've been doing these things virtually and we'll continue to do these virtually. Also, we do concerts and we do a different concert each month. And those of you who like opera, those of you who like Italian, like the beautiful Italian language, we're going to have a soprano in from the university. And she's sung before. She's got a beautiful, beautiful voice. She's doing a collection of arias and Italian songs in Italian, accompanied. So she's coming in with her own piano accompanist. And that's Heidi Schneider. She'll be here September 10th. So if you're on your mailing list, you'll get an invitation to that. If you're not on the mailing list, just mark your calendar. You'll see it listed in the paper. You'll see the signs in front of the church. That will be Saturday, September 10th. Other monthly outreach we do is we do the Native American drumming once a month as well. And we do that with Dr. Richard Stadler, who's not only Native American, but he's also a chiropractor. So he does the drumming not only from a spiritual perspective, the Native American tradition, he also brings scientific background into it as well. Those of you who heard Richard and I yakking at the beginning, talking at the beginning, we were talking about the annual race that we do once a year. That is the Souls for All Souls 5K race, 2K run for those of you who prefer to run. This will be the 14th year. And you'll notice there the group of the poets, you'll recognize all of them there. They march each year. So last year, the shirt, official color was green. I don't know what the color is going to be this year, but Richard again will be leading the poets. So please come consider joining us on that day on October 2nd. That does 2 things. It really celebrates the role of the church in the village and all the different things that we do. You know, we've been there since before the Civil War, and where our mission is really to serve the community. So it's a celebration of what we do. And it's also a way to raise money to make the church accessible. Gladys Henderson, when she can share with you, when she was our poet laureate, she had to stop hosting the meetings because she couldn't make it up the stairs. So we're raising funds. I think we're about 1/3 the way there. So please mark your calendar for October 2nd. We'd love to have you walk with us. So Dr. Richard, over to you. Please remember to put your mic on.
Okay, I'm on. Well, I want to give everyone a big welcome. And, I always feel, as it was expressed earlier, this is a circle of friends, and as well as poets, and it's something I look forward to each month. I'm really looking forward to hearing Barbara's reading in a little while. At the beginning of the readings, I always select a poem, sometimes from the LIPC flash, sometimes for my own. And this time I picked an old poem of mine. I'll give you a little background. And we can later on, after maybe during the yak, talk more about it. So everyone's been thinking, of course, about, Dobbs versus Jackson, women's health. And one thing I realized a few months ago, how lucky we are that the oral arguments are actually recorded and available for anyone, any citizen, anyone actually to listen to, in the same way the written opinions are available. And I just felt, of course, I'm in reproductive health and women, so I have a special interest, but I felt it was important for me to know as a citizen what the details were and not just rely on the snippets in the use. So, and that's what brought back this poem. So the poem was published in the Annals of Internal Medicine a decade ago in September 2012, and it's based upon some actually a discussion I had with a classmate in college. So he grew up in Connecticut in Cheshire. He told me that in Connecticut, this is in the 60s now, that it was illegal for doctors to talk about contraception to married women, any woman in their offices, and they could be arrested. And at the same time that was going on, and this was sort of the travesty, that his dad and his uncle owned a gas station. One of the big business they had was under-the-counter selling of condoms to guys. So it was especially bad. And I know a little of the history of how this ultimately got to the Supreme Court. So the poem came out of that, and I'll read the poem. And it has an epigraph. Oh, the other reason I thought of this was in the discussion, the current discussion, there was a question after Roe versus Wade, would Griswold be next? Now, Griswold was the case that struck down the Connecticut law that made it illegal for doctors to talk about contraception. So this is the epigraph. Now, what is the purpose of Connecticut in telling married people they cannot use contraceptives? The court, Griswold versus Connecticut, 1965. Our garage had 3 bays. We pumped your gas, washed your windshield, always with a smile. Bazooka gum for the kids, or a couple of kitchen glasses came with a fill-up. My hand reaches under the counter. My hand under the counter. We lived in a 3-story house, me and my brother, behind the garage, 3 generations, 2 families, the chicken, children, grandparents from the old country. Eggs was their business. Chicken coops lined the backyard. A hand reaches under the counter. My hand under the counter. We had another business. A man comes in for a rubber. Usual customers say, "Your dad, it's a setup. Fuzz never bothered anyone anyway." When MCs are Trojans, want a 6-pack, what would be? Birth control was out. Even docs could be thrown in jail, but men needed rubbers when they needed them. Anyway, that's the poem, and if you're interested, maybe we can talk a little about some of the background to it and the details. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Barbara Segal today. She is a prize-winning poet, visual artist, deeply influenced by mystical worlds of nature and spirit, published widely, Pulmonoc, Transition, Oberon, Mobius, Long Island Sounds, PPA Review, long-standing member of the Poets Circle, a women's poetry group, interfaith minister, was recently a Recce hospice volunteer, and has a book out, The Secret Road, Walking with Persephone. Welcome, Barbara, to the Zoom podium at All Souls. I'm looking forward to hearing your reading. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Bronson. And thank you, Kathy, for inviting me today, and Dan for his masterful Zoom wrangling and moderating, and all the people associated with bringing Second Saturdays to us all. Thank you, everybody that has come. It's very exciting for me. I'm happy to share my poetry today with you. I'm going to start by reading some of the poems from my book, The Secret Road, Walking with Persephone, that Finishing Line Press put out. For those of you who may be rusty about Persephone, she was one of the great Greek goddesses. was partnered with Hades, would help settle the souls of the dead in the underworld. But in the spring, up she would come back to earth and bring with her the glorious world of all green growing things, especially flowers. She loved all of this, particularly flowers. So in the fall, she would have to go back down, and all the beauty of the verdant world would go down with her. We would have winter. So her story is partly explaining the myth of the seasons, the change of the seasons, but she's so much more. And she became like a sister to me, and that was how these poems were inspired. So that's enough of that. The first poem, An Object in Motion, Wanting Stillness, one of the first two poems in my book, is about me, not Persephone, but there are themes that you'll hear that are in the Persephone poems. It's a Long Island poem, and there are 3 haiku embedded in it, so you might hear when they start or not, whatever. An object in motion, wanting stillness. I drive the gray expressway east in Friday traffic, flying with clipped wings, rumbling speed bumps pulling me back on track when I begin to wander. Migraine marches across my head, the road, the journey. Finally, a 2-lane country road, farms holding the land, trees holding the sky, vineyards, farm stands, small towns, honest brown ground, furrowed, reaching out, holding me. At a friend's Jamesport cottage, camaraderie of 4 women sharing tea and sweets, a fine doo-wop concert in town, and dinner, ice cream, a sleepover on strawberry pink sheets. I wake with a dragon red eye, a burst blood vessel, souvenir of Megrim, and a strong urge to return home. Around the corner, alone in morning fog, dark shape of fisherman on sandy shore. Swift as an osprey on a thermal, morning breeze blows me home through a soft, yellow-infused world. Stacked in circling layers in the awakening sky, 5 turkey vultures. Next day, pulling weeds, pruning plant and bush, making order and space in garden and mind, I deadhead iris, set stakes for morning glories to twine, remove purple purslin, creeping Charlie, henbit. At the pond, below Japanese maples, koi surface. So that's An Object in Motion. Thank you. Now, sometimes when you've been talking with people in social settings, maybe people you don't know, you might get a little tired of it. And this poem is kind of refers to that. She wants his name. A fracas of sound above. She wants his name. Name that blots out light like dark ink spilled across a page. He cuts black shapes into innocent blue skies, overshadows paltry smiles, empty conversation. Smell of dark musk, blackness flaring blue. Eyes gleam bottomless depths, see into the void. He speaks in hoarse tones, flaps warnings, flies in high circles, aims arrow straight, dawdles, taunts. Crow knows. She wants his name. This summer night, katydids knit the distance between A and B, first chorus and second, nearer and farther. Their sounds and rhythms stitch together a neighbor's trees with mine. My old Japanese maple unfolds its umbrella of stars over the pond of slow dreaming koi. This summer night, I rise from bed, pen these words, think of you. That was kind of a love poem. Okay. This one refers to my time as a hospice volunteer at the Hospice Inn. And it's called Our Sacred Path. We walk the hushed white halls, past doors closed and open. Within each room, a bed holds someone in their last days. We enter, speak gently, take the hand of the restless woman who is more bird and air than matter. We lovingly touch her forehead, shoulder, see her calm. Next door, a man's breathing is labored, his eyes are closed. Family is gathered around him. His wife reverently shows us a photograph from healthier days, asks to speak to us of her sorrows. Her young children will be left fatherless. The crushing stress, sadness of life without her beloved. Down the hall, a husband flutes folk melodies for his dying wife, family clapping lightly in time. From another room, an old man moans softly, wears a clean hospital gown and the smell of death. Together, we minister to the dying, honor the sacredness of life and death. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on to some poems that I wrote during the pandemic as a kind of a journal, but I wanted to do something totally different in style from Persephone. So these are haiku inspired and they're simple and nature based, simple expression language. So the first one, they're all called Shelter. So this is Shelter 18. A hawk floats to a nearby branch. I walk 5 steps, look back, vanished. Along harbor shore, 24 crows, that's a murder. Head southwest, soundless except for the winging. Tonight's full moon sends silver through my window, pulsates possibility. This morning, a squat dark spider scuttles across the kitchen sink. I catch and release her without harm. Memory. Hiking in a state park forest. A black bear nearby through the trees lumbers parallel to me along the ridge. Close encounters can be encounters too close. Okay. This is Shelter 9. Day of sun last summer. Short, faceted arms upraised. Triangular head. 2 huge eyes. A small space alien sheltered in a green body. Praying Antis, my young grandson says. She's watching us, watching her. Ours is a world of wonder. Shelter 14. In the mirror this morning, my mother's eyes look back at me. I spread sweet butter on dark bread, remember how she enjoyed it. My deceased father appears in a dear friend's dream, asks her to tell me everything's going to be all right, that no, he can't phone me to tell me himself. There aren't any phones where he lives. My age is creeping up close to theirs. close to when they passed 20 years ago. The earth will shelter my ashes when my time comes. May they nurture the earth that I loved. And shelter 21. Pink glowing dawn, silhouettes, quiet pines. A squirrel leaps and a branch dances. Andromeda last night, a diamond. Waters underground run steady. This afternoon moves in grays. The earth moves around the sun, the moon around the earth. Our lives move around each other. Thank you. All right, a change of pace, 3 little haiku. This was in June. Big Dipper pours starlight into my garden. And then 2 from last week. Unhurried sky arcs over laid back ocean. Gulls steal the peace. Ocean, gulls, turns, beach, ignore me sitting on my chair. All right, well, this is a longer one. Sweep. Clouds sweep the sky of sun, sweep the sea of bathers gone like monarch butterflies on an autumn day. She sweeps the floor of memories, dust, dog hair, the stuff of everyday reason and rhyme, the stuff of looming windswept gray clouds, the stuff of the red rucksack in the corner, crammed with books, bones and shells, relics of lives lived and given over. The sweep of horizon, a brushstroke of blue at water's end, cerulean above, cobalt below, blue on blue, soothing notes like miles, like the Moldau. Sailing the thermals, the osprey sweeps the sea with its clear-eyed, yellow-eyed gaze, searching, seeing. It finds the fish, telescopes in, drops, momentum, a scream of speed, hungry talons reach, crash, an explosion of water. It hits, grabs, catches its silver prey, flaps, shivers, flies again with flash of fins, scales and tail, heads to the high spot, the top of the craggy old tree, eats, sweeps the sky again. Solstice murmurs its approach. The pendulum swings back toward winter. White snow in the black night, black crows in the white snow. Gray clouds sweep the sky. Thank you. Okay, this is a shorty because this is again in the summer vein. Because Buddha sits amidst violets and heavenly blues twirl the stair rail, because white shutters in the bedroom rest ajar and the old oak mirror reflects, because Brahma and Saraswati are always in love and wind flutters the leaves, because you are kind, my shoes wait patiently. Okay, this is a hypnagogic poem. It's for when you're in between waking and sleeping. How to read a poem at dawn. Rise before you awaken. Feel soft air caress every pore of skin. See luminous blue sky interweave deepest purple clouds. Hear each bird voice its song. Sway as branches sweep, wave, dance. See golden light glaze everything. Smell fresh earth warming. Know you are the poem. Okay, now moving into kind of aging, love, and loss place for a little bit. This is for my mother. The last time I saw you. A river of smooth black stones curves and flows across your sun-drenched balcony floor. For once, you and I are peaceful, the gauntlet's off. You study your Heidegger, I sketch your Zen garden. You rise, take a step, falter, turn your still beautiful face to me, say without words, did you see that? I believe that is how hours later you died. Your heart faltered, finally broke, and you were gone. Dan, how are we doing on time?
You could do another the one long one or a couple of short ones.
Okay. Of course, I got a short one and a long one.
Do both. Do both. We got a small group today, so do
Okay.
that. Do the long and the short, and then we'll bring it back for the encore.
All righty. Lifelines. Lifelines crowfoot my eyes, carve from mouth to chin, testify to time lived. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Testify to time lived, draw complexity into a face and body, no longer smooth nor youthful. Invisible lines, though, connect me to friends, family, and places adopted over many years. Unseen, unmarked, yet these are the true lines, the longitude and latitude of my life. So that was Lifelines. And then this slightly longer one, a little fun. Tangled Up in Blues. Mussel shells, cornflowers, thistle, lobelia, gravel, granite, the asphalt street, marlin, bluefish, the great blue whale, my mother's old sofa, grandson's beach pail, squash blossom necklace, velvet dress, Assisi cathedral ceiling of deepest lapis, jean jacket, swallows, architecture plans, my son's mood, my husband's eyes, recycling cans. I did say this was called Tangled Up in Blues, didn't I? Okay, I'm sorry. I thought, did I forget that? All right, let me go back. Recycling cans. A robin's egg, stained glass, blue willow plates, horse so black he was blue, plastic toy crates, cascade of morning glories over fence and wall, a classic Ford Thunderbird, clear sky in fall, calm ocean waves like blue-green glass in summer, sailboats, biminis, sail covers, and Dodgers, soothing notes like Ella's, John Lee's stutters and moans, Elvis Presley's blue suede shoes, Ma Rainey, the Rolling Stones, layered azure waters of a Caribbean beach, haze of sky and distance in mountains beyond reach, indigo heavens before going black, blue states and red, the political map, our home in the cosmos, the beautiful blue marble, and after life is over, the wild blue yonder. So, thank you.
Barbara, that was just great. Just reflecting back on the beautiful poetry, the object in motion. You know, I think we rode with you with that migraine. You know, on the highway there, and saw the turkey vulture, and I could smell the dark musk of that guy whose name she wanted, and just hear the katydid singing in the summer night, and that beautiful, beautiful poem, so moving, about behind doors, and reminding us all that, you know, those people waiting to pass on are all have a story, and you gave dignity to each and every one of them. The crows and the spiders in unison, the black bear encounter. I was thinking of Phil Harris, the comedian. He said, "Dear Lord, if you're not going to help me, please don't help that bear." beautiful story about the praying mantis. That's my father used to refer to my mother, who prayed to my very religious woman, as a praying mantis. So I was thought of that. The sweet butter on the dark bread, and your age catching up to your age of your parents when they passed, just something I think we can all feel and empathize with. The squirrels dancing on the branch, and the beautiful the Blue Dipper, and the skylights, and the sweep of just the sweep, so many things, the sweep of the osprey and the sweep of the clouds, and just beautiful. And I could see we all felt Buddha sitting in your garden there, and saw the golden light at dawn, and that beautiful poem with your last time you saw your mother, just very, very moving. And you know, the lifelines, I think we all got them, and they all tell a story. So I empathize with that. And you know, when you was tangled up in blue, I was listening to your beautiful words, and I didn't know blue, so many things were blue, and I kept hearing that Bob Dylan song in my background. I don't know if that was your inspiration, Tangled Up in Blue. So just all very wonderful stuff. So thank you.
Thank
And
you.
we'll bring you back for an encore. So let me just change my view here a little bit. So you veterans here who's joined us before know the rules for the open read. One poem, 5 minutes. Keep your microphone muted. Please wait to be called upon. And we will make sure, I'll start with the people who put their names in chat. We'll start with them. We'll announce you in groups of 3. And we are supposed to stop at 12, but we'll go a little bit longer if we have a bunch of people that want to read. And no, but we'll definitely end before 12:30. My guess is we're going to probably end a little bit after 12. Okay, so the first group of 3, and remember, when you're called upon, you'll need to turn upon, so be ready to turn on your mics, please. So the first group of 3 is Maggie, and then Don Billings, and then Herb. So Maggie, we'll start with you.
Thank you. First of all, Barbara, that was so beautiful. Your poetry moves me so much. Thank you. And thank you, Dan, and everybody. So good to see everybody. This poem is part of a series for a chapbook I'm putting together on memory poems. And then I swear I'm never going to write about myself again. It's called The Day I Arrived in New York City in 1965 to Pursue an Acting Career. 1. The creaky Pennsylvania Railroad car carried me away from Altoona, PA, and the sad wave of my aging parents. The woman next to me suggested I channel Carol Channing, only opposite, be a small girl presenting as a big personality. 2. Old Penn Station had lockers. I stashed the suitcases holding my past, perused directions from my roommate, bought a token for my first experience of the New York subway system. Vending machines dispensed combs and mirrors then to help you look your best on the number 1 to 103rd. People everywhere. The world vibrated past stops I longed to know. 3. In my premiere Broadway appearance, I strode the 3 blocks to West End Avenue. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel lost. 4. Split 3 ways, our Upper West Side apartment cost $180 a month. Bedrooms, kitchen, dining room, living room, a clawfoot tub, pot of gold at the end of this new rainbow. That night, my roommates, 5. That night, my roommates took me to Greenwich Village, the buzz of poetry and flowers, Washington Square Park, the gaslight, hippies, funk, music, bars. I arched into a new lifestyle, knew myself a downtown baby, that I would live an artist's life. 6, last stop in this heaven of a day, an antique shop on McDougal. I had $100 to my name, no job, no prospects. I bought a lavender silk parasol. Thank you.
Maggie, keep writing about yourself, please. That was wonderful. Okay, over to Don Billings. Don?
Hi, this is, you know, I was always looking through my book for something that's appropriate to read with Second Saturday, and I came up with this one last night. I like it. It's called The Walk. We walked together to the gates and back again. We talked of things I can't remember, of the fishing in Newfoundland, of Glenn's prospects in the future. We talked of years in teaching, of students we remembered. We talked of redwood forests north of San Francisco. We talked about the bobcat living in the wild. I talked about the flowers blooming, and we talked about our wives. George talked of Doris Kearns Goodwin's Lincoln. I talked of Lincoln's mother in Kentucky woods. As we walked, I found an egret's feather. I kept it as a remembrance. We had made this walk in other years, to each gate and back again, 2 miles, I suppose. We talked mostly of things I've forgotten. Oh yes, our plans for walking on the beach. But walking on the beach would never happen. This was our last walk. My friend died. About 2 days later, I was holding his hand when he was dying.
Beautiful tribute to your friend and just a very moving poem, Don. Thank you for sharing that with us.
I'm sorry, Don, to hear that.
Okay, Herb, over to you.
Okay, this is a prose poem. That night we regained the universe, August 1990, for my late espoused Saint Lorenda. Farmingville, my hometown, is in transition. It's primeval and pastoral in parts, and contemporary suburban in others. It still contains a great amount of natural beauty and magic. It has clean air, especially piquant then, thick woods, large fields, and a sparse population. Avenue A is the last street before an immense stretch of quavering moonlit woods. That August 1990 night was Goldilocks warm. Hardly a cloud crept across the sky. There were little breezes puffing languorously, seemingly sleepy, drunk, or both. The moon glowed brightly, about 4/5 full. We walked with gentle steps along Avenue A. On either side of the avenue lay large lawns and a few large homes, all very contemporary and tidy. The moonlight made everything glow beautifully and magically. Leaves from oaks, birches, maples, and a holly shared the same silver-white sheen as the chrome bumpers on the polished Cadillacs parked in a couple driveways. Even the few stars visible seemed bathed by the moon's bright light. The moonlight also made everything glow within us. The gentle clomps from my footsteps and the gentle clicks from yours faded when we arrived at the avenue's end. We didn't talk much while walking, then almost complete silence. The quavering moonlit woods jangled just beyond a glowing white wooden fence and its glowing yellow dead-end sign. I took your moon-blanched hand into mine. We walked around the fence and entered the woods. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful imagery there. That was very special. All those different images of the lights and the moonlight and really captured what was obviously a very special evening for you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next group of three is Victoria, Emily Sue, and JR. So Victoria, over to you.
All right. All right, this one is a little different. It's called Terrarium. Before they turned on the nightlight moon, the gods bestowed upon each inhabitant their portion of joy and sorrow, hunger and plenty, freedom and servitude.
then closed the seamless lid of the sparkling sky and departed. Elsewhere now, they've gone on to build yet another almighty terrarium, the most imaginative among them, sometimes daring to ponder as they grasp at tiny things with their long lightning tweezers, illuminate their subjects with sun-shaped headlamps. Who created them? Who ordained their mission? Sometimes searching for glittering clues across their own night sky, wondering if their own gods are also gardeners on a fated journey, asking their own questions as they breathe new life into their unending gardens of glass.
Thank you, Victoria. Very well done. Gods and gardeners, one poem. So, okay, Emily Sue, over to you.
Oh, good morning, everyone. This is a wonderful reading. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everyone. Victoria, speaking of gardens, I'm going to read one called The Garden Party. Tiger lilies burst out orange on the dance floor, and soon irises and daisies were jitterbugging too. Petunias, begonias, and sunflowers watched contentedly from their places in the sun, while hostas and astilbe took refuge in the shade. The gladiolus family, wearing giant corsages in yellow, orange, and white, leaned into the trellis, attempting nonchalance. Marigolds had kindly offered to stand watch in case those pesky mosquitoes tried to get in. The place was buzzing, and no one seemed to notice when a couple of bees around the punch bowl spilled nectar as they bumbled their way through the crowd. Everyone complimented the hydrangeas on their blue and purple pom-poms and agreed the black-eyed Susans had outdone themselves this year with their makeup. Finally, crepe myrtles made their grand entrance, festooned in white, lilac, pink, and red hats. Relative newcomers to the neighborhood, they stayed well past the fireflies' bedtime. Thank you.
Dan, you there?
JR, yep, JR, over to you. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Beautiful readings. Thank you. So I just opened the book and this is where it opened to. August 31st, 2008. Sunday. We get up, shower, dress, get to church on time. We pray, and sometime after church, the aliens came, an invisible ship, carted us off to brainwash us, make us forget negative things like waking every hour to howls and whimpers, letting them out and coaxing them back to sleep. And of course, forget the messes, only to remember the good things like tail wagging sloppy wet kisses, being met at the door with enthusiasm at our return, even if after a trip to the mailbox, warm bodies on a cold bed. We must have hovered overhead before they put us in my truck and directed us to North Shore Animal League, where they locked the door behind us, said we couldn't leave until we adopted another puppy, rescued another homeless orphan, until we saved another life. That's the story of how it happened, and we're sticking to it. Thank you.
Great, JR. Okay, next we have two more people that have signed up, and again, others can add their names to the list after these two. So fortunate to have Gladys read for us today. Gladys. Gladys, remember to turn your mic on as well. There you go. It's off now. There you go.
Trying to unmute.
You're on.
There you go.
Muted again.
Gladys, you muted it. So put it on, turn it on, and I'll let you know when we hear you. So put your mic back on. It's a little microphone button. Don't worry about the sounds, the video. So Right now, we can see the video, but we can't hear your voice. There you go. Try it now.
Okay.
Don't hit any
All
more
right, I'm
buttons.
gonna try to do it again.
You're
No
leave it
more
there.
buttons.
Yep, you're good. Go ahead.
Um,
Go ahead, Gladys.
No more buttons.
Okay.
Okay, thanks so much. I'm sorry to be so challenged. My printer isn't working today, so I'm reading from an email I sent to myself. The setting of this poem is a place that my family had gone to in Highland Lake in upstate New York. And this is really a lyric essay that I'm only reading the last 2 or 3 stanzas. Nothing could ever be as beautiful as the fields on either side of that golden road, pastures busy with grasshoppers, flowering chicory and Queen Anne's lace, feral flowers whose names I will never know. My hands touched as many as there was time, that nose memorized each scent as it lay on my mind's palette, a wakefulness that has lasted a lifetime. At the shoreline, Dad walked the dock, untied the boat. There was wisdom to our boarding. I was first, my father, the captain, was in charge. Take my hand, hold on to the sides, walk in the middle, take a seat in the bow. The captain was in charge. Mom was second, a large woman who feared falling into the lake. She didn't know how to swim, and she stepped into the boat. Her alarms echoed across the still morning. The boat rocked like a carnival ride. I held on my life. Oh, Pete, hold on to me. Oh, no, 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 don't rush me. Don't rush me. Don't rush me. Once she settled into the stern, Dad would stand oar in hand, and with a skillful push against the lake's bottom, we would be afloat. He would gondolier us away from shore into the deepest water, and once satisfied we wouldn't catch bottom, he'd row us towards small coves rimmed with rauru bushes, tall pickerel weed, places where fish, he said, were likely to hide. My fingers trailed behind us in the cool water, creating small rivulets with bubbles, lines of a musical score whose notes like time dissolve into quiet rest, then disappear. We would float in silence across the tops of water lilies, their creamy white flowers scenting the July heat. I'd reach into the cold water to grasp the blossoms like golden rings on a merry-go-round, grace notes I placed as gifts into my mother's hands. Thank you.
Beautiful, Gladys. I just, the wisdom in boarding is something that resonates in my mind. Wonderful memory. Okay, so the next reader is Dan Kerr. So I'm gonna just get people. So I was a real fan of this is special thank you, inspiration to Virginia Walker, who kind of motivated me to write this poem. If you recognize the woman in the plate there, that is Uhura, who was the communications officer of the Starship Enterprise. And the wonderful actress that played her was a real bold person, Michelle Nichols, and she just passed about a week ago. So this is an ode to Uhura. The original Star Trek envisioned a world better than the 1960s. The leadership team of the Enterprise was diverse, and women were in positions of power. The Starship Enterprise's mission was to seek out new life, to boldly go where no one had gone before. No one went more boldly than Uhura. She participated in the first iteration Kiss on American TV. In one episode, she told Abraham Lincoln why things were better in her century than his. She explained to Captain Kirk the impact of believing in Jesus has on a planet. Ebony magazine described Uhura as the most heavenly body on Star Trek. And she showed America that not all Black women on TV needed to be maids or servants. And Sally Ride and countless other little girls learned from Uhura that they could reach for the stars. Uhura's name in Swahili
Absolutely.
means freedom, and she freed us all from limiting stereotypes and from intergalactic ceilings. When she told Martin Luther King she was leaving this Star Trek to go back to Broadway, he said, no, you cannot go. You've changed the face of television forever, and therefore you've changed the minds of people. Her light, like the ancient galaxies we now see for the first time, will remain for us and future generations to draw inspiration for a better world. Thank you. Okay, so now let me go around the room here and let's see if I missed anybody. Kathy, I always know that you've asked. If you're asked, you'll read. So we've got Kathy, and is there anyone else? Just wave your hand. Okay, Virginia. Yes, Virginia. So we'll do Virginia, we'll do Sasha, and then we'll do Kathy. Let me write that down so I don't screw it up. So Virginia, and then Sasha,
And
then
Evelyn.
Kathy.
Evelyn.
Just a second, please. Just a second. We'll do them in threes. Okay. And who is the? Let's do those three, and then we'll get the other. No. Okay. So let's start with Virginia. And
Well,
could
first of
everyone
all-
please mute their mic? Everyone mute their mics because we're getting a lot of background noise now.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, somebody's mowing out here, so you may hear it. I want to thank Barbara for a wonderful reading, and the poem, the hospice poem, and the shelter poems, and the sweeping poems. I was swept away by them, shall we say. And I really enjoyed some of the other readers. I can't go through all their names right now, but just think of me as a stab from a cactus, because nobody's going to like this poem. But I just wrote it, which you never should do, but I was in a mood. And so I wrote this poem, and you're all going to hate it. So already remember that. Okay. He cannot speak. He cannot be popular. August at Chautauqua and Mar-a-Lago. Knife the eye that sees, crack the skull that thinks, bleed out the veins of the imaginative man. Crash the gates, raid the boxes of the action man, rifle the underwear, threaten incarceration. The man of the pen and the man of the people must bow to us, say the tyrants of faith and fraud. Thank you.
Great, Virginia. Thank you. Well, quite a few people like it.
You did? Oh, amazing.
We all have open minds, or
Yes.
I believe. Okay, Sasha, over to you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, you're fine.
Yes, okay. Barbara, thank you so much for your wonderfully beautiful reading. I feel so blessed to be part of the Poets Circle with you for so many years. So thank you, thank you, thank you. The poem I'm going to read is Choices, and it's after Wisława Szymborska. I prefer Schubert to Stravinsky, cherry blossoms in spring, dark chocolate for midnight snacking, talking to pastry chefs rather than lawyers, possibility of singing in the rain. I prefer clucking roosters to clucking politicians, blatant honesty to the surreptitious kind, alternatives and laissez-faire, autumn's gold to winter's gray. I prefer to make apologies for some of the poems I've written rather than excuses for all of the poems I've written. I prefer to be amazed rather than starry-eyed, disruptive rather than docile. I prefer overgrown fields to manicured lawns, shorelines to deadlines, moving forward to moving backward, options rather than decisions. I prefer life's simplicity. I prefer life's complexity rather than, I prefer life's complexity to death's simplicity. That's a difficult line for me to say. Thank you.
Well done. Okay, I know it's Kathy, and we've got a couple others, but let's get Kathy done first. Kathy?
You can get me done first.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Barbara, absolutely wonderful. I have to say, sometimes there'll be a line that just I want to take with me forever. And this close encounters can be too close. That's hysterical. That's just great. And the other one is you are the poem. That's just lovely. I think I may steal those from you somewhere along the line. Thank you. So it occurs to me that I dug up this old poem, that there's a time when you're not writing, and maybe that's like at the age of 3, but suddenly you are writing, and whether it's just highlighting favorite parts of books and then slowly, gradually writing, getting to the point where you start writing poetry. And so I can remember not writing to one day picking up a pen and writing something simple. And the woman I was sharing a house with, I was renting space in her house, took that poem and gave me a thumbs up. And that was the beginning. That was almost 2 decades ago. So this is called Claire's House. Winter ended on a Friday. Through the night, under stars and slither of moon, ice could be heard thawing, snow melting, puddles evaporating. Spring presented herself early Saturday morning as if a gift. Purple and yellow appeared in pale shades of green. The sun, bright in a cerulean sky, called for woolen coats, sweaters, and thick socks to be put away in closets. Snow shovels and window scrapers to their shelf in the garage. In this old farmhouse in Nessaquo, an untended garden summoned. Heavy weight of cold air lifted. Weeds lay dormant, needed pulling. Mail-away seeds needed planting. I lay lazily in my bed, dreaming about when to start my day, glad not to have to awaken to the sound of an alarm. New changes that took place overnight also took place in me.
What a wonderful tribute to the time you spent with Claire. Okay, now I know there was someone else, just give me a second to get grounded here. There was someone else who, after Kathy said she wanted to read, I can only write down 3 things at a time. Who was the other person who wanted to read? Go ahead, Evelyn. Evelyn, go ahead, you got to put your mic on. Evelyn, go ahead, you got to turn your mic on.
Yep, it's on. I'm sorry. I can't do the chat. I wrote down I wanted to read, but it doesn't like me, I
You're
guess.
worth waiting for. You're worth waiting for.
Thank you. This is for my daughter on her retirement from teaching. It was an older poem, but I gave it to her. And it's about her apartment. Walk into your space, corners filled with treasures, fragrance of incense. You have juxtaposed yellow-orange with an enigmatic painting, a photo of a woman and a jar. A bowl of flowers I can't name, bright red, languid offerings to a mandala on the wall. Everywhere splashes of color, a textured neutral, each a jewel for the eyes to explore in wonderment. Who is the owner of such inventive richness, a space so original, inviting, whose hands weave this tapestry? I know her, body of my body, flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood, kindred in my heart of hearts, weaver of stories, painter of dreamscapes, explorer of worlds. Diane, this space, your home, is you.
Thank you, Evelyn. Beautiful. Okay, so we've got a little bit of conscription here. Russ, you've been invited by a couple of people. If you would be willing to read, they would like it. So Russ, if you feel like reading, just come off mute.
I would just jump in here and say, welcome, Russ Perry. Oh my goodness, it's so good to have you back. Russ was with us when we were, in person in the church, and his health took a turn, and it's just such a privilege to have him back on the scene. So, yeah.
I want to say welcome too, Russ. Looking forward to hearing and seeing you so much. I remember all the readings in the Smithtown Library too, and thinking about you.
Okay,
Russ, are
so
you
Russ,
on mute?
if you want to read, you got to come off mute. We'll wait for him a second. He may have stepped away, or he may have a challenge. And while we're waiting for Russ, I see Shu, you're back in the room. Did you want to read, Shu? If so, come off mute. Shu? Here she comes. Shu, if you're now admitted, oh, she's now connecting to the room. Just give her a second. Okay, Shu, I see you're in the room. I know you've had some technical issues. Let us know if you want to read. Just come off mute.
Yeah, my internet connections are, I don't know. Today is probably just one of those days, you know.
You have landed, so the floor is yours.
Okay, let's see. Give me a second. Okay, so today I will share a haiku and a poem by artificial intelligence called Ida. So first the haiku, blue sky, pure and lonesome, longing for the hug of cloud. So now is the poem by the AI called Ida. I wept silently, taking in the scene. I wept because they had lost something, took for granted. My sight, eyes wide open. We looked up from our voices like blindfolded captives, sent out to seek the light, but it never came. A needle and thread would be necessary for the completion of the picture, to view the poor creatures who were in misery. That of a hawk, eyes soon shut, eyes with the tears in them, and the desire to weep. You never see the light of day.
Thank you, Shu,
Yeah.
for your
I don't
lovely.
know how to interpret of this poem by an AI. I don't know how they did it, but probably one day the AI might enable to read the human mind. That will be really misery, I think.
Thank you for sharing it with us, and thank you for your persistence in making it to the site. Okay, let's go back to the gallery here. And Russ, will give you one more chance to come in. And is there anyone else other than Russ who might want to read? I think we've got just about everybody. Kathy, you see anyone else, or Richard? Okay, Kathy, now you're on mute.
I see a Michael and no picture.
So Michael, if you'd like to read, you're welcome to. You're under no obligation, but if you'd like to, just come off mute and read.
And I think
There's an iPad there too.
Could be one and the same person.
I see, Russ is on a new iPad and a new old, no, actually it's brand new. Barbara Southard helped a few people finance an iPad for Russ. We were very privileged to do it. And maybe it's the iPad giving him trouble. And Gladys, if you're on an iPad, I see too, maybe you could give Russ a lesson or something, because we're going to miss out on his poem, of which I've collected several in my papers here to give to him. Russ lost everything. He lost everything he ever wrote when he moved to where he's living now. And what a tragedy. So I've got a small collection of poems.
Kathy, I have a suggestion. While we wait, guys, just one second. Kathy, why don't you, while we read the next poem, we're going to bring Barbara back for an encore. If you've got some of Russ's stuff there, maybe if you just grab one, and you could read it. It'd be a nice tribute to him, because I don't think he's going to get in. Go ahead, Gladys.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm surprised that he got on. I made the invitation and I taught a few things to him via distance, including FaceTime, but he may not know how to come on with sound, and but he'll have that along the way. You know, Russ, if you're hearing, at the top of the screen of your iPad, you'll see the word audio or sound. I don't know what it is. I don't know what is. If you click on that, you could be able to become, we could hear you. And if you put video on, if you click the video, we'll see you also. But maybe for the next time, I was surprised that you showed up. Yay!
Okay, and we're going to get Kathy to read one of Russ's poems in honor of his being here. So while Kathy looks, I don't know how time it's going to take her to pick one. Barbara, why don't we go to your encore, and then we'll pick up Kathy reading Russ after your encore. That's all right with you.
Sure, that's fine. Okay, well, I had a longer poem that was funny, but I got a really nice long opportunity to read today, which was, I just appreciate so much. So I'll give you a shorter poem. This is Shelter 11. It has a, what's it called when you put a quote at the top? I can't think of the word. Anyway, so this is a quote from Linji, 9th century Chan master. That goes, there is a solitary brightness without fixed shape or form. That solitary brightness is you. Okay. The glowing ball rises, offered up by dark pine branches. On my windowsill, paper white narcissus rise from a terracotta pot. Perfume the air, offer bright white blossoms. I sit on my cushion in Vajrasana, light a candle, strike the brass bowl, in silence, offer gratitude.
Huh.
And I offer that gratitude to all of you today.
And gratitude to you, Barbara. That was,
Thank you.
That's great.
Barbara, you know, your presence solicited quite a crowd, 20 people. That's fantastic. And yeah, you know, when we were in person, I hate to say it, but it would be half that number. So Zoom, I don't know. I think it's here to stay. So
that could be a song. Zoom is here to stay.
I did find something of Russ's, and first I'll show you a picture that he took himself. So it's a picture of two rocks, which are huge, huge boulders. You know, if you had someone standing there, it's like 4 times the height of a human being, which was left behind, dropped, you know, from the glacial days. And it's right along the shoreline on the beach up on the Nessaquogue. And he writes, walking the glacier's wake, early morning, the rising sun at my back, painting my extended shadow on the sand. I walk the edge of the path a glacier took 10,000 years before, an icy finger plowing up Pomanak in its wake, dropping these giant stones 4 times my height, like pebbles. Russell Cameron Perry. So.
Okay, so Dr. Bronson, over to you.
Well, first of all, thank you, Barbara, so much for those wonderfully beautiful poems. The visual intensity was just spectacular. And, you know, I'll be thinking about them all day, actually. So thank you. And I want to then introduce who will be coming next second Saturday. There'll be quite a change of pace. If anyone knows Gloria Murray, I mean, most people have heard her poems. She's been very active for many, many years on Long Island, and she basically explores her family and her relationship with mother, etc., and has an interesting, very interesting style, a very interesting sense of humor to the poems as well. So, as it says here, she's had this poem featured, My Mother's House, through Ted Kuzer, and she's a very seasoned poet. To see some of the places her poetry has been published, and she's a member of the PPA as well, an active member as well. So, you know, we look forward to a very interesting reading next month. I hope to see everyone join us at that time.
Okay.